Welcome to Pomegranate Radio with your host, Jonathan Cook.
Doctor Strange, the latest offering in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, begs the question, are we finally truly suffering from superhero fatigue? Is this a case of just lazy, dull, and uninspired filmmaking? Is it true that we really do just give the MCU films a pass because they are part of the MCU? Whatever the answer to these questions, it's difficult to argue Doctor Strange is underwhelming, to say the least. Let's start with the good, because there is some good. The visuals are outstanding. This is one of the most visually impressive films I have ever seen. The visuals are well done, very well executed, very well constructed. The major chase scene towards the end of the film with Strange being followed by Caecilius is absolutely incredible, particularly when they're basically jumping from broken piece of the city to broken piece. Very impressive. But the visuals would be far more impressive if the twin inspirations of The Matrix and Inception weren't obvious in every single shot. Now, yeah, Doctor Strange came out, in the 70s, long before either film, and yes, the visuals do borrow heavily from the original comics, to the best of my understanding. Still, when we're talking films, the visual effects are eerily reminiscent of those two films. And it's okay, films borrow from one another all the time. That's expected, and it's okay. But let's not go out and say that the special effects are really all that special, because they aren't. They're just very well executed. And even so, you still have a terrible case of effects that use that incredibly boring mirror effect all the time. It's really not until the very end of the film that the film escapes from that. But it's so common and it's so pedestrian that it really takes away from what should be pretty impressive special effects. Nope, I can't think of anything else good. Let's go on to the bad. In no particular order, let's start with the humor, because it's weird and out of place. The MCU films have always relied on humor to offset the drama of these stories, the action, the intensity of some of the scenes. The humor is a good thing. It breaks things up. It lightens the tension. That's what it's supposed to do. In Doctor Strange, the jokes felt forced almost every single time. Even the ridiculous thing about the Wi-Fi password that you've probably seen in the trailers is just ridiculous, and in fact kind of insulting when Mordo says, "We aren't savages." I know plenty of people who don't have internet access, and I don't think they are considered savages. Plus, it kind of makes it sound like people think Asian people are savages. You really want to go there, given Tilda Swinton? Really? Doctor Strange himself, Benedict Cumberbatch, is played way too unlikable. He is so arrogant, so pompous, and so irritating that he's basically an anti-hero. There's very little reason to root for him. But the problem is, he doesn't have any of the charisma that an anti-hero needs in order for the audience to root for him. We liked Gregory House because the guy was damn charismatic. You liked him in spite of his flaws. In fact, you oftentimes liked him for the flaws. Doctor Strange is all flaws. And his pompous, condescending attitude towards virtually everyone and everything is so alienating to the audience. Doctor Strange is basically that Harvard alum who insists on working the fact that he went to Harvard into every single conversation. Boy, it's a beautiful day out today. It sure is. It reminds me of the time when I was on Harvard Quad. What? Shut up! All right? I don't care that you're some kind of world-class surgeon. You're really not. As the film makes very clear, you're really not. And repeating, how did you get past a C7, C8 spinal injury every couple minutes does not make you sound like you're a medical professional. It makes you sound like a douchebag who just read a medical dictionary. Shut the shit up and sit your ass down, bitch. Yeah, I went there. This film also displays, and I know this is going to sound incredibly cheap and nitpicky to most people, and maybe it is, but it bothers me. This film shows the casual American intoxication with the Oriental cultures. That is to say, it's in love with the idea of Eastern philosophy and Eastern spirituality, but it doesn't want to actually know anything about those. It wants to present the simplest, the most simple-minded version of Eastern philosophy and Eastern spirituality possible, and it completely ignores the fact that these are incredibly complex and complicated systems of thought and systems of behavior and systems of medicine. Zen Buddhism is really, really complicated. Taoism, simple in concept, really, really complicated in execution. What does Doctor Strange do for Eastern philosophy? It has a couple throwaway cones. In fact, they're not even very good cones. They're the kind of fortune cookie wisdom you get from really bad mass-produced fortune cookies. And then, if that doesn't bother you, the reality is the story is weak. It's not the worst of the MCU films. That honor still goes to the Thor films. God, those are awful. Especially that first one. Oh my God. Oh my God, those are bad. But the story is just another origin story. And there's nothing special about it. There's nothing that really impresses you. There's nothing new brought to the table regarding these characters, regarding the world in which they live. Yes, the world is expanded, technically, to include now magic and mysticism. But it's still not exciting. It's not different. It's the same damn film we've seen, 16 times before? All right. We have a weak, underutilized villain played by the incredibly talented Mads Mikkelsen. All right, if you remember Le Chiffre in Casino Royale, or even better, Hannibal Lecter in the television series Hannibal, which was amazing and canceled way too soon, by the way. Bring it back. Bring back Hannibal. #. Mads Mikkelsen should have been able to portray a much more powerful villain. And he probably could have, but the writing wasn't there. The development of the villain was not there. What do we get? We get a throwaway scene where he explains that his ideology is far more pure than the Ancient Ones. Okay. Never seen that before. And then we have the Ancient One herself, played by Tilda Swinton. And for all the bullshit thrown around about the fact that she's not Tibetan in the film, which I couldn't care about less, she's not very good. And this is Tilda frickin' Swinton we're talking about. Tilda Swinton is amazing. She is one of the most gifted actresses ever. All right, she can play any role and play it well. Why the hell is the Ancient One so boring? And we're not talking boring like this way too zen, way too calm hippie chick who's just kind of lifeless. She's lifeless by any measurement. By any yardstick, she's just a walking corpse. A bald walking corpse who says painfully trite things and tries to make them sound profane. Profound. I meant to say profound. I'm going to leave that one in because that's kind of funny. Anyway. And then there's the very nature of Doctor Strange and his world. The magic. If you've been watching Game of Thrones, you've probably noticed that they really, for the most part, downplayed the magic elements until fairly recently. Early on, magic was a very, very limited occurrence on the show. That helped to make it feel like a realistic, gritty drama. All right? It didn't feel like high fantasy. It felt like a gritty version of reality, a dark tale of the Middle Ages. It felt like it could actually be happening. Magic cheapens threats. It cheapens storytelling, especially in this case. I'm not going to reveal what exactly happens at the end. Shocker, Doctor Strange survives. Whoo, didn't see that one coming. There's got to be a sequel. But how he saves the day is so incredibly trite. It's unbelievably ridiculous. And you stop and think about it, and you're like, well, okay, why didn't he simply do that earlier in the film to stop what Mads Mikkelsen's character, Caecilius, does in the first 5 minutes? Why doesn't he do that? Well, because we had to have the whole movie. All right, except even when he had gotten his training, why didn't he do this? Why didn't anyone decide this was probably something we should do? It fixed the whole situation with almost no effort. But like I said, if we did that, then we wouldn't have a movie. That might be a good thing, though. Honestly, I am really disappointed with Doctor Strange. I was really looking forward to it, especially when people kept saying it's something different. It really brings a breath of fresh air to the MCU. It doesn't. It's the same damn thing. It's just this time it's got magic, which is an ungodly, absurd, and easy way out of everything. The ultimate Deus Ex Machina. How do you compete with magic? It does set up Thor Ragnarok in the mid-credit scene, so if you're going to go see this tripe, go stay for that. There's also a post-credit scene which sets up the sequel. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of these movies. The only reason I'm really that interested in watching these movies now is that I want to see how they lead into Infinity War. I've been waiting for Infinity War to be a kick-ass movie since the 90s. Give me a kick-ass version of Infinity War. I'm really starting to think they're not going to be able to pull that off. I'm not sure how they were ever going to do it, but I really worry now. Do I recommend Doctor Strange? There's worse ways of spending, $10, $15, $20 on a Friday night. Enjoy it if that's your thing, but don't go into it expecting anything special. It's really not. This is Jonathan for Pomegranate Radio, saying thank you for watching. You've been beautiful. Have a good night.
I'll see you again on 25 years. Meanwhile,